maybe I want to try something new, or, I thought about a turbo. And my daughter, oldest daughter, who's now 21, at the time, she was probably, I want to say maybe 4 or 5. She caught wind of it and she goes, "Dad, don't sell that car. I love that car." She came running down the stairs, I'll never forget, with her piggy bank. "Do you need money? Here, take all my money. Don't sell the car." And, from that point on, I was just like,
Oh,
this car is a lifer. And it reminded me that, it needs to stay in the family.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in to the Guys with Their Rides podcast. This is episode number 2, and I am with my dear friend, Nick Katsikis, who is the president of the Schattenbaum region of the Porsche Club of America, which is, I call that Central Jersey?
Central South, yeah.
Central South.
Yeah.
I belong to NNJR, which is the borders that. But we're here once again at the Garage Mahal, somewhere in Central Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
In the pilot episode, you met Lou, and Nick is the other half of this wonderful garage, this very eclectic garage. And so we're here today because Nick, being a dear friend, has quite an eclectic collection, but we're going to focus on the car that started it all. So Nick, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy to be here.
So the first question I'd like to start out with is, what got you into cars in the first place?
Oh, gosh. Well, from my earliest childhood memories, I was all into cars, whether it was, matchbox cars or, small kids of my age, you may have stuffed animals. I had stuffed cars. In the 80s, there was a company called Dream Wheels that did a whole bunch. And as a matter of fact, I still have them here in this building. I have an old 911 that looks as rough and scruffy as like a teddy bear that's 40 years old. So that's what really kicked it off. And I have to also say that my father is the one that really got me going. I can remember many Saturday mornings studying the Road and Track magazine as it came out and looking at the specs of any Porsche that was new. And his dream was to always have a 930 turbo, which he does have, and still to this day. But that's really how I got my start, and just lusting after them ever since that point.
That's awesome. Well, what's very cool about this is Nick has a very eclectic collection, from the roller that's just over his shoulder. Wait, I think I made a rhyme there. But mostly German.
Yes.
But the one that started it all is right behind us.
Correct.
Why don't you tell us about this? Is
Absolutely.
This is 944. So tell us all about it.
This is a 1984 944 that has been in my family since new. One of our extended family members purchased it brand new, picked it up from the Port of Baltimore. This car lived pretty much its entire life in New Jersey, not too far from where you are located. And it's seen although I have so many other cars, this is my baby because, like you said, this is the one that started it all, but it's got the most sentimental value too. I mean, this car's seen everything from first dates to this was the car we drove the end of the night after I married my wife, Jennifer. And it's just seen everything in between. I mean, I bought this from my father with my first ever hotel bonus check. So I was so excited. That's when he upgraded to the 930. And it's just so many fond memories.
But it was your first car, but you
correct it up fine. Yes, bought it from my father when I became of age to drive.
Wow. So you've had this car now. Well, I'm going to be 50.
Yes.
So you've had this, I can't do the math right now, but a long time.
Yes, a very long time. Let's leave it at that.
That's fantastic. So you drove this in high school. I can't even imagine driving a 944 in high school. You had to be...
I was like Jake from 16 Candles.
I would say.
For those that remember that movie.
Yeah.
Except this was red, but
okay.
Same car.
Wow. Yeah. So the real world 16 Candles. Now, how many miles were on the car when you got it when you were 16, and how many are on it now?
It was around, I think, 88 or 89,000 miles, and now it has 145.
So it's an original paint car?
It is. Original paint car. 5-speed. On its, believe it or not, and I have proof because it's been in the family the whole time, still on its original clutch as well.
That's fantastic. Well, that's proof you weren't burning it out in high school.
Exactly. I was too afraid.
Anything else you had to do matron? Ever been in a collision? Nothing.
No collisions. No, just honestly routine maintenance. It's got its original drivetrain. The only really thing I've done, nothing mechanical, but the front seats are the only thing that finally, after all these years, needed to be redone. But the rest of the interior is all original.
Wow. And any special options on it, or
No, it's a base 944, 2.5 liter,
which is not
160 horse. But yeah,
by 84. I mean, these were nice and always a sharp looking car.
yes, I love the rear end and the fenders. That's my favorite part of the car.
So that started. Some would say an addiction.
Yes. So some would say I need an intervention.
And some would say he needs an intervention. But do you want to go on record as saying how many you have right now?
Sure, Jen, don't listen. I am up to 27 right now.
27.
Yes.
And in here, rough count is about
18 right now, I think.
18 of them right now.
Yeah.
All right. And Nick is probably like me. I think once he gets one, they're like, it's a good thing we don't have dogs. Well, you have your Doberman.
That's right.
But I think they're kind of like puppies to you. Once you get them, you can't.
That's right. They're all like children. I cannot let any of them go.
So after this car, so you had this car, and how long was, I mean, you're a poor high school student, poor college student.
Yeah.
So when was the next car? Fast forward to that. Buried in this car.
There was a 928 was next. Not the current one that I have now that you know, but I had an 81 928 S that was black.
Wow. That
I bought. It was a barn find, truly, and it should have stayed a barn find because it was rat infested and gave me nothing but electrical trouble. And after about 2 or 3 years, I had enough. And
yet you talked me into buying that one.
Well, that one was newer.
All right. So while we're on the subject of 928s, if you didn't watch, Nick being a dear friend, when Project Risky Business came along, the opportunity, I made the mistake of texting Nick and Lou talk me out of buying it. Well, Nick said, no, we'll go up there. We'll go up to Buffalo. We'll trailer it back. So he graciously offered to do that. We had a great road trip. Stayed with we hung out with my mom. My mom made you a coconut cake.
One of my favorites.
Yes,
I still ask for it.
And he got to sample some true wings.
Yes.
If you're from Buffalo, you don't call them buffalo wings; they're wings. So just wanted to put that out there.
Yes, absolutely.
And we did that at the height of COVID, so it was really weird. Masks on while we weren't drinking or eating, but then as soon as you anyway, I digress. All right, so the 928. Then what happened? So you got rid of. Did you keep that one? Did you get it running to the point where it got mine? Or
yeah, I like you. I got it running, sunk a ton of money into it, and then got frustrated, and then let it go for a pretty significant loss. But it was probably good that I did. Some guy from Connecticut came and took it away.
Okay. And from there?
Oh gosh, from there I dabbled in the world of the 914s, which I still have. There's a 914 right behind the car.
One, yeah. And when we did Lou's feature, that was the background. Okay.
And then I really took a turn into, I grew up, most of my family, in addition to Porsches, drove Mercedes-Benz. So I've always had a love affair with Mercedes-Benz. So I have a ton of those. I go anywhere from, a 70s 450 SL all the way up to the late 90s big S500, like the what people most recognize it as is the Princess Diana car. Not a good way to remember that.
Yeah.
Built like a tank, and that's still one of my favorites to this day. And then I have everything in between. I have a 300 TD station wagon. I have two of the newer SLs.
That's the W123.
Yes.
Which I'm becoming an expert on the transmission on that. Well, yours is stick.
Yeah. Well, but my wagon is automatic.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you ever need a vacuum modulator. And you got a couple Audi coupes here.
Yes.
Yeah. And at some point, we're going to do a main seal on the thing.
Yes.
And what year is the thing?
A 73.
So I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but the sign is actually the hard top for that thing is holding up our guys with rides. And
that is Lou's most car he'd like to see out of here as soon as possible, because that's a conversation piece. Everybody loves that car.
It's funny you say that, as he did mention that in his episode.
Yeah.
You started collecting these now. How long? Where were you keeping? How long ago did you really start collecting them that you needed a bigger place other than your house?
Oh, I've been collecting for a very long time, and in the early years, a lot of them were just stacked up outside my house. People, you drive down my street, people thought this house was always having a party or the whole family's over.
Okay.
They were pretty much packed and stacked under covers in the early years. And then, as time went on and, we upgraded homes, I was able to, put some 4-post storage hobby lifts in my garage, made a 2-car garage, 4-car garage.
Mm-hmm.
And then, when Lou and I got together and this building happened, they all started to migrate here.
That's awesome. So you've got 2 Audi coupes. Let's talk about those. I know we won't be showing them per se, but they're a rare car to begin with, and you've got 2 of them.
2, but I must admit the one that's rare is the wagon.
It's a
but the GT coupe over there behind my shoulder is a non-quattro, so that's what makes it kind of like the run-of-the-mill, the same as the VW Scirocco. It's front-wheel drive, 5-speed. It's just got the base 5-cylinder.
But this is the year. What year was that?
85.
That was the year when they had the sudden unintended acceleration.
Yes.
Debacle that nobody was buying Audis.
Correct. Yeah.
So that's what makes it rare, at least in the States.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other one, this is the rare gem that every time I drive it, people pretty much almost run me off the road trying to buy it. It's a 91 Audi 200 20-valve turbo quattro Avant. And say that 3 times fast.
And where did you find that? That's a story in itself.
Yep, I found that up in northern New Jersey in Caldwell. A gentleman had this and parked it when the electronic portion of the ignition stopped working. And he put it under a boat tent outside, and it proceeded to stay there for 10 years straight.
Oh, gosh. Huh.
So it took almost a year to get this car back on the road, and we're still going through shakedown cruises like you're doing with Project Risky Business to still work all the bugs out. But it's a blast to drive. It blows the doors off this car, but it's just a lot of fun.
Now, the one that is below it, we're not going to bring that off the rack, but the ones below it is your roller.
Yeah.
Of all the German cars.
My first and my last English venture.
So how did that all come about that you got? Well, tell us what it is.
Okay. So it's a 1980 Rolls Royce Silverweight Wraith 2, and the 2 is for the long wheelbase. So it basically is the Silver Shadow that was made for a good 10 years. But 1980 was the last year of it, and that's why they changed the name to Wraith in commemoration of the older historic Wraith.
Got it. Okay.
So it's the 6.75 liter, V8. It's adequate. It's pulling a 5,000 pound sled, so it's got a lot of body roll. It's a lot of fun, but it's a cruiser. With a lot of these cars, seeing them in movies and just seeing them there, just always dreaming of having them. This was one that I saw, like, you'd see it in any movie you could think of in the 80s, like, Eddie Murphy, Beverly Hills Cop, running down the street with, all those Rolls Royce behind you, or even though not the same model, the movie Arthur. I just love the elegance of this car. And that's what made me want to get one. And yes, there is a jar of grape Poupon in the glove box.
How many miles are on that?
71.
Now, so the most complicated thing on that is the suspension, right?
Correct.
Yes. Pneumatic, so it's hydro-pneumatic suspension.
Modeled after Citroen.
Oh, okay. Which it's an interesting engineering exercise.
Yes.
Have you had to do anything with that?
Other than, again, this car too, I found this one. This is a California car. It's the first year of fuel injection. So that was a brave venture. Even though it's Bosch K-Jetronic, it's still, on a Rolls Royce motor that was carbureted for years and years and years. It took a lot of tuning. But I found it in Memphis, Tennessee. And in one of my crazy trips, flew down there and attempted to drive it back. But, as the famous Rolls Royce tradition goes, it didn't make it. So I had to rent a truck and trailer and drive it back the rest of the way.
What would you back?
Funny you should ask or say, but the accumulators, because it had sat so long, the brake accumulators, there was so much sludge in there because this system is vented to the air. It uses a special fluid known as RR363. And there was so much sludge, it just collapsed. I had no brakes.
Oh, God.
And the suspension was starting to sag, so I couldn't drive it another 800 miles back in New Jersey.
It's just proof that you have to use these cars.
Yeah.
Worst thing they can do is just sit.
Absolutely.
You know? What else have you had to do to that car?
It had, what I also discovered once I started to drive it had a bent lifter. And had
A bent lifter?
Correct.
Not a bent push rod, but a bent lifter. What does that mean?
That means a run from I should say the push rod was bent too, but it actually bent enough that it damaged the lifter.
Okay. Wow.
So that was a pretty much top end teardown project.
And do it yourself or?
No, I sent it out to a Rolls Royce specialist that happens to be very local to this area. I had him do that and, get all the sludge out of the brake system. But then I took over with lots of things like, if you've ever seen a schematic of these power windows, it's literally like a huge motor with double row bicycle chains. It's crazy. So they have to be lubricated. I have to take every door apart.
Now, as complicated as some things are, there are other things that are quite common, right? But the air conditioning is just frigid air.
There's a ton, and I didn't know this, but I do now. Obviously, owning the car, it's all GM other than the motor. Honestly, the transmission's a turbo 400. The compressor, like you just mentioned, is an old frigid air. Uses the slow to burn or blow Corvette fuses for it, and alternators, AC Delco. So pretty much all GM.
Now, have you ever bothered to comparison shop what Rolls Royce would charge for, say, the same alternator versus what you've had?
Yes, I have, because it's got a Corvette alternator on it actually, versus the Rolls Royce part. Because for most things, there are two major sites that I would use and still use over in England: Flying Spares and Intro Car UK. They're the two that pretty much stock and house all the old Rolls Royce stuff. So yeah, big price difference, like,
and
50%
about that. They're pretty open about it.
Yes,
very cool. So, I mean, you get into the roller world, you better have some bank.
Even for some of these old ones, because you'll hear a lot of other people say, yes, you could go on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace and find one of these for $5,000 or $6,000, but to get it roadworthy and to actually get it semi-reliable, you can spend an easy 20, 30 grand.
Which most of your cars, correct me if I'm wrong, a fair amount of your cars you bought as borrowed finds kind of thing and brought them back to life.
Correct.
That one, though, you bought the best you could afford.
At the time, yes.
At the time, and it still ended up costing you a fair amount.
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay. If you're coming in here on a Saturday with all 27 cars, which one is your go-to car most of the time?
This one.
Okay.
Just because it's, as weird as this sounds, even though I've owned a bunch of these cars for years and years, it's the one that I'm still most familiar with. It's the one I'm most comfortable in.
Mm-hmm.
I know it inside and out. I purchased another one for the track, since I am in the Porsche Club and the president of the Schattenbaum chapter right now. But our local Motorsports Park, which is New Jersey Motorsports Park, we do driver education events known as DEs.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a 944 on purpose because it's the best way to learn, learn to drive a slow car fast and, just really get the hang of it. And the handling are great on these.
Oh,
really are.
I got school when I was still living in Rochester. My next door neighbor, he was another Audi guy. He was in the New England Quattro Club.
Mm-hmm.
But he started tracking and he bought, I want to say it was an 85, Guards Red 944. He let me borrow it a couple times. And I, having never driven one before, I couldn't believe well, first of all, my first impressions of it, solid.
Yes.
And
great weight distribution.
Great weight, but the balance is phenomenal.
And I must say, out of all the Porsches I own, and granted, I own all old ones, not new ones, so I don't have PDK and Tiptronic and all that, but this is the best feeling gearbox out of all of my ones that I have. It's just tight, solid, smooth.
I can imagine that.
These
are a wonderful car. and they're still relatively affordable.
Very much so.
The turbos are getting a little bit,
Yeah, they're getting a little crazy.
and if you got Porsche interior,
Yeah,
they'll drive up the value. But overall, it's not a bad if you can wrench on them yourself.
Mhm.
Parts are still readily available, and they're other than when you get into DME issues like the 928.
One of my other favorite stories about this car that I want to share is that there was a time when I thought about parting with this car. And it wasn't because I needed money or anything. I just like, you know what, maybe I want to try something new, or, you know, I thought about a turbo. And my daughter, oldest daughter, who's now 21, at the time, she was probably, I want to say maybe 4 or 5. She caught wind of it and she goes, "Dad, don't sell that car. I love that car." She came running down the stairs, I'll never forget, with her piggy bank. "Do you need money? Here, take all my money. Don't sell the car." And, you know, from that point on, I was just like,
Oh,
this car is a lifer. And it reminded me that, you know, it needs to stay in the family.
yeah, no, that's an awesome. That's very cool. And has both of them work? If you have 2 daughters, have they both learned how to drive it, or?
No,
Oh,
my youngest is very interested now in learning how to drive manual.
okay.
I think my oldest is as well. She's also expressed interest in coming to the track, and when we do parade laps, maybe doing a few. I bought her a turbo Beetle, so she wants to take the Beetle out and try that. So,
Oh, good.
but I think yes, learning manual is in both of their futures. They have to. I have no sons to pass these cards to, so they need to be the next caretakers for me.
And it's, you see a lot of memes around where they say manual transmissions of theft deterrent now.
That analog clocks and cursive writing.
Yeah, right. So they all are there, but it's good to hear that there's hope.
Yes, there is.
I'm going to sideswipe it here a little bit.
Okay.
There is one car that is elusive to you. It's not German. It's not British. It's American. So why don't you tell us what it is and why?
Okay. So, again, not a very fast car by today's standards, but growing up before my father could afford, a Mercedes or a Porsche, he bought brand new a 1979 Pontiac Trans Am,
Oh,
black tan. So the Smokey and the Bandit colors. I realized for those Smokey fans, the car was really a 78, so this is a 79, but they did use that in Smokey and the Bandit too. But anyway, so fully loaded T-tops, snowflake wheels, black exterior, obviously the cream colored interior.
with the stuff. Right?
Yeah, the cloth houndstooth, yes.
Okay.
The WS6 package, so it had everything that Pontiac had to offer.
So when you got the WS6, that was the 4-wheel disc brakes,
Correct.
automatically. Now 79 was a weird year because it was an automatic.
It was the automatic. So that's when they were in the Van Nuys plan. Yes, it was because they ran out of the the 400 engines, right? So they used the old 403 in these.
And any automatic, that's like 78, 79. The minute you see an automatic,
yes,
it's a 403 olds.
Yes,
which is not a bad thing.
No,
they both had torque.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, I have very fond memories of that car. And my father, right before I got my license, said, "You're going to wrap yourself around a tree with this if I keep it," and he sold it.
So you got this instead.
Yes.
I'll tell you what, it's not a bad consolation prize.
No, it's not. This handles a lot better. As you know, old American muscle can only do a straight line.
Yeah, right.
This will kick its butt in the corners, but I've always constantly looking. But now those cars are crazy. I mean, and unrestored you're looking at $50,000.
So more. You look at, it's right there with air-cooled Porsches right now. A mid-80s 911, I sure when they were 20 or 25, that was worth the money to me.
Yes.
But now I see them 50, 55,000 for diesel. Like, I don't like the car enough to warrant spending that kind of money on it. Right. I think you're absolutely right. It goes back to, I often tell people, you can't drive your heroes. And I think if somebody showed up at a big 10 auction and bought one of those, if they hadn't driven one before, spent all that money, I think they would be very disappointed.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
and granted, I never drove it as a kid. Plenty of rides in it with my dad, but yeah, I suspect I would be too. But that still doesn't take it off the list for me. So one of these days I'll find it.
And so when he sold it, Did he trade it in on something?
No, it's one of those stories where he went, the for sale sign went up at the corner local gas station, and I'm sorry to say, I think back then, I'm going, gosh, back early '80s, I think he only got $3,000 for it.
I believe it. Yeah.
I mean, the car I knew was, he was in a bidding war because it was, they were in '79, they were a hot commodity. I think he paid like $4 or $5 grand over sticker, putting him at like 14 or 15 grand for the car.
Wow. And if I missed it before, I apologize. Was it a T-Top car?
Oh yeah,
Wow.
T-top car, everything in it, CB radio.
Of course, got to have the CD radio.
I mean, I should say the factory CB radio even had the CB antenna integrated in the power antenna. I just remember many trips going to Pennsylvania, being on the highway, listening to the truckers and talking about us driving in between them. And yeah, it was a lot of fun.
The next best thing to owning a truck is having a friend that owns one. The icing on the cake is that if said friend has a trailer.
Yeah.
So we mentioned earlier, we had a great road trip to Buffalo, but that's not our only road trip.
No.
We had another road trip with Lou.
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island. So we went up at the height of COVID. This was what, February, March?
Yep.
And we were on a run for a so you graciously agreed to go and if you I run online auctions on guys with rides. This was a case of sometimes you need to see a car in person if they don't take great enough photographs. So I don't know if you want to run.
Oh yeah, sure. That was
basically went up 4 hours one way, height of COVID, to a car, and we came back empty-handed.
We did.
So you want to tell that one?
Yes, it was. Lou was interested at the time, looking for a project to restore with his grandson. So he chose this at random. I'll say, I don't know, because he's an American guy for the most part as far as cars, his taste in cars. But I want to say maybe 84, 85. I don't remember the model year, but it was a BMW 635 CSI. So the iconic coupe.
Right. It was a stick.
Yes,
that was
very rare.
Right?
Yes. So Lou had corresponded back and forth. We saw all these pictures, and we said, "Okay, we're coming. We're going to buy the car."
And the three of us, based on the pictures, looked like okay, this might be something.
Yeah.
So keep going.
So we made the trek up to Rhode Island, 4 hours up, and we pull up to the scene of a house that looked like it was straight out of Deliverance. First of all, the guy was very cash strapped. It was his father's car. Was looking to unload it because he needed to pay his electric bill. I'll never forget that.
I'll never forget that. It was sad in many ways because that was his parents' house.
Right.
It was clear they had built it, and now he was basically living there. Very hippie,
very hard times. Yep.
Yeah, a hippie kind of guy. And he thought the car was
right. He thought the car was immaculate, worth it. As we pulled up and started to look at it, I remember the biggest thing I remember was when we opened the trunk, and the toolkit was in BMWs, they're mounted to the underside of the trunk lid, rusty like it had been in the ocean for 20 years.
Yeah.
And as we looked around closer, just body rot everywhere. It did fire right up. However, again, very evident that we had some friends living in it. Because the more it ran, we started to smell and see smoke, but not smoke like burning oil, like campfire smoke. So
smell it.
The exhaust was completely packed. It started to blow out nuts, and then you could smell the smoke. Where you and I were under the car, we're like, shut it off.
So the lesson learned is, look, if you're buying a car online, you got to ask for pictures, but like I tell all of my clients, a picture's worth 1,000 words, but a video's worth 1,000,000. You need to see the car running, and otherwise you need to go look at it yourself. And Lou did the right thing. We basically go up there, and I'll never forget it because the highway was empty. I mean, it was cold. It was, I think, the end of February.
It was,
20, right?
Yep, it was.
And couldn't eat anywhere, right? We had to come straight back, if I recall.
Yep.
And we came back empty-handed. It just was not worth.
No, it wasn't.
And he actually tried to. I mean, Lou's a dealer, so I mean that he's a wheeler dealer. He'll negotiate a good price, but this kid would not come down.
Well, at the end, he sort of did. Remember, he came down to I just put tires on the car or something. I can't remember if he said he put tires, but he would he needed to pay. That's where the electric part of the story came in. I need to pay my electric bill. How about $900? And we were like, no, sorry, this vehicle's too far gone.
A very wise decision. Don't get pressured in. Walk away if it doesn't feel right. Our friends at Super Clean sponsored this podcast, and so they provided you with this supply of Super Clean.
Awesome.
Which I know you can use in this.
Absolutely. It'll go to very good use.
Very good use. And so if you're interested, if you're watching this podcast, look for the link in the description, and you could enter for a bottle of this spray and aerosol. And that I'll be announcing the winner in the next week's podcast, which would be, I'm trying to think, that would be June 18th. We'll announce it. This one, if you look right now, I'm going to put the name of the winner up when we pick that one. And we will reach out to them and get their contact information, and Super Clean will send it directly. So all the contest rules are in the description. And if you have any questions, you can reach out via email. So great product. I only endorse products that I use myself. And so I highly recommend it. So Nick, great story. Great catching up.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you doing that. And I look forward to catching up or over a nice dinner here in a little bit. And it's always good. And, we haven't hit any car shows yet, but we're overdue for the Silver and Gold reunion with our 928.
Yes.
And
you got a lot of fun with that during.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's no Radwood here in the Northeast this year. We've got a wide selection in here to choose from. But so thank you for agreeing to do the podcast. Always entertaining to come down to the Garage Mahal.
Thank you for having me.
Glad to see there's nothing new here
that you know of.
Anything in the works, or you want to keep that off the record?
That one needs to stay off the record. There might be something in the building behind us already, but I can't confirm or deny.
All right, we're going to keep that off the record, and very good. So, well, thanks again.
Thank you, Rudy.
Appreciate it. So, thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this podcast, please press the like button. Even more important, consider subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it helps support not only these podcasts, but also the Guys with Rides cars that I work on in my garage. And if you haven't done so, I encourage you to check out my main website, guyswithrides.com, the only dealer-free community and marketplace for classic car enthusiasts like you and me and Nick. Thank you for watching. Stay safe. We'll see you soon.